Hello, everyone, and welcome down to episode 64 of the Down South Photo Show with me, Brendan Waits, here in downtown Ocean Grove, down south Ocean Grove, Victoria, Australia, and the dude on the other screen or in your other ear, if you are listening to this in your car or on your headphones, it's Cam Blake in Hobart, Tasmania. Good evening, Cameron.
Good evening, Brendan. How are you on this beautiful, fine, summery day?
Oh my God. Welcome back to July.
It's shit.
Look, we know we get ordinary weather down here, but now it's really taking the piss.
It is, isn't it? It is. We had summer for about 2.5 minutes here yesterday. And then, it's been snowing up on the mountains here.
Unbelievable.
So Mother Nature,
yep,
you can kiss my ass because you are just taking the piss. You're drunk, go home.
That's right. Okay, yeah. So that's 3 bleeps I've had to throw in already. That's great.
Right.
No. We get away with those ones, don't we? We're PG.
Yeah, it's when you drop the F-bomb.
Right. Don't, because I have got no time to edit this thing this week. Thanks to everyone for listening, for liking, for sharing the podcast, for subscribing, and all that fun stuff that we like to mention at the top of the show. It's been last week's episode was really well received, as per usual. We've had some really positive feedback.
Yeah,
it was a good episode. I think a lot of people got a bit out of the selling prints. Myth, whatever we ended up calling it. What was the clickbait we used this week? I can't remember.
I love the clickbaits. If people haven't picked up on the theme here, every title of every episode is really just to get you to click. Right. We could say whatever we like, and you might click on it, and that's good enough for us. But stop wasting your time.
Yeah,
prints are dead. I think it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yes. Speaking of time, you probably already noticed, folks, that this is going to be a shortish episode, an abbreviated episode 64, mainly because there's just so much going on, particularly in my world. I know the guy over on the other screen there, just he's in a hammock out in his backyard watching the birds fly over,
drinking beer every day.
That's exactly right. But there's a lot going on. So we're going to have a slightly abbreviated episode. So let's talk about your background there, Cameroon.
My background, I'm going to see if this works. My background, I was actually meant to be hiking into this location on the weekend coming up, but plans have changed. But this is up in the walls of Jerusalem. It's a tiny little compact national park, sort of east of Cradle Mountain National Park. But it's got some really beautiful little lakes, some nice mountains, some beautiful old pencil pines. But for those playing at home who can see that tree in the middle of that shot, that tree was made super duper famous by Peter Dombrovskis. He took a shot of that. There I am. He took a shot of that on his 5x4. What do you call it? The Lintoff Technica Master back in the 80s, I think it was. But yeah, beautiful spot. Was going to be hiking there, but I'm going to postpone that to another time. But lovely little part of the world. So that was my shot. I actually sold a print of that during the week. So I was printing that off today. I went, geez, I like that photo.
How exciting. See, who said, what did we say last week? Print selling's dead. And
just
completely.
Yeah. I hope that wasn't all clickbait.
Yeah.
No, actually,
my background. Sorry,
I was going to say, it's funny you say that because I didn't actually think I was going to sell any prints. I put a bit of a special up on 8x12 prints and bought some frames, and that's the first one that's come through. Anyway, sorry. Off to your stormy background.
We can party like it's 1999. That's a Prince reference. Now, my background there is
the artist formerly known as.
That is, like Olympus. This is the main beach here at Ocean Grove with a storm rolling through a couple of summers ago. And the reason I like this photo is there's no footprints in the sand yet because the tide's going out, and it's pretty clean. So it would have been in February because you don't get shots like that in January around here. So without footprints. So that's just my local beach. Literally, if I get in the car and drive 3 minutes south, that's where I end up. So I'm lucky to have a little beach there. And it's always different. The tides are always different. Clouds are always different. The swell's always different, blah, blah, blah. How
good is a storm front coming through?
When it's hot, yes. If we got one right now, I'd just be like, I'm done.
Yeah. It's right. You'd break a 7-iron over that, wouldn't you?
Yes. Can I give a shout out, please?
Yeah, of course you can.
Karen. Hello, Karen. Popped in the shop today. It was Karen, wasn't it? Yeah, I think so.
Okay, no, can we time out for a sec? Can we? Everyone that comes into Brendan's shop and introduces himself, can you please give him like a name tag or something like that, or write down, or
write it down, text it to me, email it to me, put it in the comments below. Popped down from Melbourne, popped into the shop to say g'day because she listens to the show, which was really exciting.
Cool.
I've only been to Ocean Grove a handful of times, but specifically dropped in to say hello, which was great. So thank you.
To me or to you?
To me. And I should have got you on FaceTime. We could have, anyway, it doesn't matter. And
it gets a bit weird.
She was very polite. She could see that I was really busy, and she just said a quick hello, and I gave her a few pointers on where she should go and take photos. Nice. The sunset, which is sort of happening now. And sorry, it's an absolute failure. Never mind. But that's what happens at the moment with the weather that we're having. So
you're
thank you for popping in.
You're telling me that you've got people driving 80 odd kilometers, maybe more.
Well, further, because she's on the other side. So.
Just to pop in to say hello to you.
Of course.
That's incredible fan work, isn't it?
That's right. I don't know why, but anyway, she said she loved the show. That's the main thing.
Oh, Karen, if you're listening, I'm in Hobart. Feel free to pop in and say good day anytime, and I can show you some spots around Hobart to go take your camera as well.
He'll actually go with you.
I've got nothing to do. Come on down.
That's exactly right. Yeah. We had a good week, Cam, didn't we?
We did have a good week. Well, I had a great week.
Well, when we say we, I say you were the instigator of what we're about to talk about, which was very, very well received.
Oh, yeah, I know. I didn't know what you're talking about there.
we inadvertently, which has sort of been the theme of this show from the get-go, is there's no real structure to it. There's no real rhyme or reason for it. There's no business plan or anything like that. It just happens organically, which we really like. I'm a big fan. We sort of laid down a workshop for people, and they came a knocking.
just to enlighten our guests and listeners at home and on YouTube. How many minutes do you reckon we discussed the idea of this workshop and the structure of it?
I want to say 8.
Yeah, I reckon that's a bit too long. Maybe we were on. I think we said something on the last episode that maybe we should talk about that. And
yes,
we talked off air, and I said to Brendan, we should do. I'm up there in January doing these Olympus things. Why don't we just do a workshop down your way on the Saturday, and we'll see if anyone bites on it. And Brendan's like, you put it together, I'll go. I'm busy. Yeah. Talk to you later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, cool. All right, I'll come out there and I put it together. I put it out. The first one sold out in about 30 minutes. And then there's people emailing me and messaging me saying, I missed the first one. Can you guys put on a second one? So we spent another 2 minutes organizing the second one and said, can you do Friday? I'm like, I can do Friday. You can do Friday.
Yeah.
And then we put that on and that sold out in about 45 minutes. So
yeah, it was pretty impressive. So thank you so much for everyone.
Yeah,
it's been a fantastic response. We're going to take people to some great locations here in my backyard, which is awesome. Point Lonsdale, Ocean Grove, of course, Barwon Heads. So really looking forward to it. The best thing is I think about these workshops is it's unpredictable as far as the weather's concerned, but
and what we offer.
That's not where I was going. We're very professional, and you'll get lots of good advice. The main thing is we'll get to show you some great spots to take photos here on the Ballerine. So
absolutely.
I'm stoked, absolutely pumped for it. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, we've got two lots of 10 people. So the lucky 10 people that got in and got their tickets, well done. I'm also going to bring my big kit of Olympus gear with me as well. So if there's any Olympus users that are coming along, I'll have a couple of the new IM1s and a few of the lenses. I won't have the big white lens, but I'll still have the 300 f4 and a few other nice, beautiful lenses. So,
which means I'm leaving all my gear at home and just using yours.
Yeah. There'll be an EM5 or IM5.
Awesome.
Maybe. So but it was an amazing response, and we were a little bit. We were messaging a bit, weren't we? Like, I'm like 10 spots, and then I'm like 7, 5 sold out, and you're like, what?
Like, yeah. No, it was super impressive. We did underestimate how popular it would be, hence the reason why we hadn't planned to run the second one. Well, we're technically running the second one first, but if you know what I mean, only because that's the way it could fall and the way it would work for both of us. So exciting times. Awesome.
Yeah. So the people that booked in first, who thought they were probably going to get the better deal, really ended up getting the arse end of the deal, because we're doing one the day before. So we'll iron out Actually, no, we'll iron
Yeah,
out all the creases.
they
will
are
get a
getting
bit-
it. That's
Yeah,
right.
they are getting a bit of it because
That's
we'll
not
iron
to
out
say if you're coming on the Friday, it's going to be awesome.
come on the Friday. It'll be completely unscripted.
Yes.
By Saturday, we'll be completely scripted, and it won't be as much fun.
Oh, that's right. Exactly. No, it's
it'll
going to
be
be
awesome.
It's going to be absolutely brilliant. So
And
we'll obviously yes, go.
I was going to say one more thing. Because people are so awesome, and because we're awesome, everyone's going to get a cap. I've got some Down South Photo Show caps.
Yes.
Or a Hairy Tog cap. I'll bring a couple along, but everyone gets a cap. You get a cap. He gets
and
a cap.
You get a cap.
You get a cap. No one gets a car.
Like Oprah.
No cars.
Okay, no cars. No.
Just bring your own car because it's self-drive.
Correct. You'll be like Oprah.
Maybe.
I like it. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be really, really cool. So obviously we'll keep all our listeners in the loop with how that goes. It's when is it? Mid to late January.
Yeah, I'll send out I'll be sending out an email to everyone. I'll probably send it just after Christmas to everyone who's coming along. There's a couple of people that asked to sort of swap days, but I don't think we're going to be able to do that because both days are full now and we'd end up having more people on one and less on the other. So for those who wanted to swap days, apologies, but I don't think that's going to happen. Unless we unscript that as well, but it's gonna be good. So people come along, we'll have a pretty much 8 hour. What are we gonna do, about 7 hours or something like that? Something 6 or 7 hours.
Pretty much from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till sunset. So it's going to be like at least 7 hours of fun. Sunset at that time of the year is of course like 8:30, so it's quite late. So it'll be great.
Be nice if we got some storms like you behind us coming.
Well, I mean that's it, and we don't know what we're going to be in for. The good news is if it does all go completely pear-shaped, well, I do have a shop here in Ocean Grove where people can gather and we can hide from the storm and then go out again. Does
it have a beer fridge?
Yes, it does. So I mean, that's all good as well.
We're set.
So if it goes as we think it will, which is great. This could be the start of something that we do on the regular. Who knows?
Yeah.
And it would be, I would love to obviously come down your way and do one, or we could both go somewhere completely different.
Yeah, we could all meet up somewhere. Or
that's right.
What we need to do is check out our demographic of listeners.
Yes.
And see where they're all located.
That's right.
And then work a workshop around where the majority of people are.
Way too professional and too much work, which is not what we're all about.
Yeah. So
we're about spontaneity.
In the comments, just tell us where you are, everyone. And then we'll sum it up at the end.
If you would like us to run a workshop in your town and you can muster 10 people, well, who knows?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Oh, no. See, we did this jokingly last week and look what happened. And now we've done it. Oh, God.
Yeah, we've got to stop. We've got to stop putting jokes out there or put ideas in people's heads.
No. All we have to do is say, now, where's somewhere where we always wanted to go? And then someone else can pay for it.
This is the thing, right? This is what a lot of these top, look at Tom Putt, for example. Like Tom wants to go somewhere.
Can we stop mentioning him?
Well, this is a dig at him. So
is this the last time that we mention him? I mean, he's had so much free publicity from us.
Yeah, and you know what? He's such a whore. He's been on every podcast you can think of in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, but he keeps saying ours is the best episode that he's ever been on.
No, naturally.
But then he got onto his little podcast with Matt Crummins. And all of a sudden, this is you got to wet your pants on this one. All of a sudden, Matt and Tom are wanting to be serious about doing a podcast on photography, and they want to look at rebranding things, and they want to do it weekly or fortnightly. Wow. So there's all these it's almost like they're trying to be like some other two people I know.
I know it's we are trendsetters. We all know this. So.
What do they say? Imitation's the best form of flattery.
The correct. It's the finest form of flattery. That's exactly right.
Anyway, nothing, Tom.
Exactly.
Until a bit later in the episode when we do something.
That's exactly right. So really looking forward to that. It's going to be awesome. We've had a really massive week at Camera and Photo, of course, leading into it's a coming, folks. This episode will go out on Friday, and then so we're literally going to be just a week out from Christmas when this goes out. So thanks to everyone who's coming in and getting me to do prints for them and all that sort of stuff. It's certainly keeping me on my toes.
Thank you for the canvas that arrived. All nice.
Was it any good?
Nah, it's all dinted and scratched. Nah, that's
you took it. I printed it. It must be incredible.
Must be incredible. No, I'm actually dropping that off to the customer Friday. So when this actually comes out, I'll be just traveling up the road an hour or so. I'm going to personally deliver it to them.
Absolutely. Awesome.
I'm a little bit worried, actually. I don't think they watch the show, but if you do, hi. But I don't think they do.
Hi.
Because it's a shot of this canola field with Ben Lomond, which is his mount. As obviously, you printed it. Yes. And when they bought the image, they said, hey, we really love this shot of our property that you took. I'm like, oh, great. Yeah, of course. If you want to buy it, it's for sale and stuff like that. And she's like, yeah, my husband's really interested in buying this thing. And he remembers you asking for permission to come onto the property to take the shot. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm like, I took that off the back of my ute. Like I was standing on the road. It's on a main road, and I just stood on the ute and used a longer lens. So I'm thinking, okay, so maybe someone else has asked to go in there and take photos of his canola field and stuff like that, which is the right thing to do. So the other day I spoke to his customer, said, look, I'm happy to run it up the road to you. If you're happy to meet in the town, it's just 5 minutes down the road from your house, then we can do the swap over. And she had some logistic issues getting there on the day we wanted to do it. She goes, oh, but give my husband a call because he wants to talk to you about something.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, right. Okay. So is this guy going to rip my head off for taking a photo in their property when I wasn't in their property, or I don't know. So I'm probably overthinking it, but
you are. You're definitely overthinking it. So if we've got a new
host
person next week, Ash, if you're listening, we might need you next week. And also if you're available for a workshop in January.
Yeah. Just sub me in for someone else.
It's been nice knowing you, Cam. I'm sure he wants to tell you how awesome you are. And
well, I'm hoping that they say, look, we'd love you to get some other shots of our house or something like that. Or
I've got a sneaking suspicion that's probably what it's going to be. So
yeah, but you heard it here. If I'm not here next week, I'm buried in a canola field just out of Campbelltown.
Okay. Which could be a topic for another episode, but permission is always an interesting topic.
It is.
Gaining permission to shoot photos, particularly on private property. So
absolutely.
That could be a whole other can of worms that we open up.
Yes.
Do you often need to do that?
I try, if I ever do, I definitely ask permission. But
if you okay, so it comes back to that old question. Should we save it for the? No, I'll ask. You're on the road. You're not on their property, but it's a photo of their property.
Yeah. So this is
the grey area, right?
Yeah. So that photo obviously had no houses or residential or anything like that. It just had fields and a mountain, which you can take from the road or wherever. If I'm ever going on a property to take a photo of like an old shed or a really gnarly tree that's in a paddock or something like that, I try and get permission. A lot of farms, sometimes the farmhouse is kilometers away, or you don't even know who owns the property. So if I can, I always ask for permission. But what I've found in the last few years, the easiest thing to do is exactly what I just did on this photo. Is if you can get it from the road, stand on your roof or stand on your back of your tray, or find a bit of an advantage point above, the fence or something like that, then that's the easiest way to go. I've had a few people pull up as I've been taking photos from on the right side of the fence, and they've sort of said, oh, are you all right, mate? What's going on here? I'm like, oh, yeah, just taking a photo of this beautiful field. Is this your property? And most of them will say, yeah, it's mine. Go for it, mate. If you want it. And they get quite excited about it. Like, if you want to get in there, go in there, that's fine. Or, but I don't ever want to get caught in a paddock and trying to work my way out of that conversation, because I don't think that's the best way to do it.
It's funny you should say that, because it happened to us. When I say us, it was me and my brother-in-law on that Mungo trip. We went exploring, and I actually could have sworn we were still in the park boundary. Yeah. And there's this it's actually Mungo Homestead. And you would think, okay, well, it's a Mungo Homestead, we're at Mungo National Park. Well, this must be like you can just go in.
Yeah.
And we drove around there's a ruins of the old property, and across the main road, the dirt road, was this windmill.
Yeah.
And my brother-in-law, Pete, he loves it, he's sucker for a windmill. So we'll go and have a look. And we drove over there. Get out of the car and we start, lining up a few shots and whatever. And then this big beastie Land Cruiser pulls up, the Land Cruiser ute. It's got a couple of cattle dogs on the back. Yeah. Mate, it was awesome. And he's got the shovel sticking out.
A couple of dead roos hanging off the back.
Pretty much. I mean, it would have made a great photo in itself. But anyway, he sort of pulls up and he puts the window down, and it was just like, I could tell straight away that there was a problem.
Yeah.
I said, oh, g'day, mate. And, he's like, what are you guys up to? And I said, oh, we're just, keen on our photography. We're just taking a couple of photos of women. He goes, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because this is private property. And we're like, oh, really? And I said, I thought we're still in the national park. He goes, we get that a lot. He said, look, the park gate is actually 1 kilometre back where you would have, he said, but there's no signage. So he said, look, just don't take anything, and, don't damage it. He was actually, we turned him around, Cam. Must have been my charms.
Yeah.
Turned him around.
Yeah.
And I stopped short of asking to take his portrait, because he actually had not an eye patch, but he had a dark he had a really dark sunglass on this side and normal glass on this side.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay.
Glasses. And you
Yeah.
could just see that his eye was really sort of like he'd had surgery or something. He looked awesome. He was a real proper
Sort of
outback character.
Starting to sound a bit Wolf Creaky.
And he had the Akubra, you know.
Right.
It would have been the best.
His name wasn't Mick Taylor, was it?
I don't think so, but anyway, he
Yeah.
drives off, and Pete, my brother-in-law, was like, "Oh, yeah, you know, okay. Did you see his shotgun?" I said, "Yeah, I saw that."
Yeah, that's not what you want to see.
No. But he was good, and
yeah.
So it does happen, and yes, it can be a bit awkward when you get caught out.
Yeah, I think it can be, but I think if you're being genuinely honest about, you know, you can sort of tell when someone's doing a sneaky.
Exactly.
And when people are
stealing anything.
That's right. And when people are just setting up cameras, like I've had a few times where I've been with groups and we've been definitely in public land, but someone's just stopped to have a sticky beat because their property's next door or something like that. And, you know, what are you guys up to? It's like, oh, yeah, I was running a workshop. I remember, now they're on the topic of it, I did a workshop with Glenn Lavender up at Cradle Mountain once. And I had we did a couple of models shoots as well. And on the way back, we stopped at this. It was on the corner of this main road. There was this really cool forest with these man ferns. So we just decided to stop there. And we were taking some shots, and this car came from miles up the road from this property. He drove down, same thing, beat up sort of four-wheel drive, all digged out.
Yeah.
And he pulled up into the thing, and I said to Glenn, I said, "Oh, I reckon this might be the owner of this property." But I said, I think it looks like State Park to me. And Glenn, typical Glenn style, goes, "Well, you go sort that out. We'll keep shooting." And all right, thanks, mate. So I walked down to this guy, and he, off the bat, he was quite aggressive. He's like, what are you effing doing on my property here?
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, sorry." I said, we honestly thought it was just the state, you know, part of the state park that's along the road here. He goes, "No, it's my property." I'm like, "Okay, cool. We'll pack up and get out of here." But then he saw the two really good looking models posing up the thing. He goes, "So what are you actually shooting here?" And he wanted to come. I said, "Come over, look, mate." I said, "We're doing some portraits of these lovely these models, and we've been sort of mixing them up into, you know, man ferns." He goes, "Oh, that looks pretty good, doesn't it?" And he came up at a bit of a squiz, and, you know, 5 minutes later, he was our best mate. And he's like, "Oh, you should go a bit further deep in there. There's more ferns in there and over here." And
see, there you go. It just took a little bit of your friendly persuasion, and
no, it took a couple of young models dressed in nice dresses.
This is true. This is true. Exactly. So yeah.
Anyway,
I like it.
No.
We are moving right along. Tip of the week will be non-existent.
Well, there is a tip of the week actually.
It is actually be good, or Santa will not come.
Yeah.
That's what it says, doesn't it?
Although he might.
That's true.
Yes.
We
Gear Talk.
DCAM.
Gear Talk's got something in there too.
Oh, Gear Talk. Canon is awesome. The end. DCAM. Now we glossed over DCAM last week because we ran out of time.
Yeah.
And we're fitting it in this week specifically because we ain't got no time. So let's get into this.
Yeah, right here.
This is I haven't even read this yet, so you're gonna hear it as I'm hearing it. Dear Cam and Brendan. Now that's always a tick when it's got. Yeah. But that's okay. I listened to your latest episode today. Well, which episode would that have been? The last one or the
last one? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I listened to your latest episode today, and I would really love if you could talk about pricing when selling your work. Oh, here we go. I've only got half an hour. How do you know? How do you know what you are worth? I have been asked by several friends if they would sell my work to put if they would sell my work to put them in, or buy my work to put them in their houses.
Put them in their houses, yeah.
Yeah. They say I'll pay you, but I have no idea what to charge.
Yeah.
I know it's a broad topic, but if you could have a discussion around it, it will be great. Cheers, Alison. Alison, thank you for the question. It is a good question, and I get asked this a lot.
And we'll be back next week to answer it.
Yeah, that's right. We'll cliffhanger. No, we'll be back next year to answer.
Next year to answer. First things first. Alison also sent another question about backing up your images on Lightroom, which is a really, really, really big topic. So we're going to park that question, and then she's got this question about print selling. It's a really good question, and it's a very common question I get asked a lot on workshops and customers and just general photographers in the area that want to sort of know how to sell their work. And my answer is always fairly generic. And, you know, how much do you know what you're worth? You know, how much do you sell it for? And my answer is generally, you know, put whatever price you want on there. Like, it is 100% your work. If you think, for example, the photo behind me, if I want to sell that for $10,000 as a print, then that's my prerogative to sell it as $10,000 as a print. Whether or not it sells or not is another thing. But it's a really hard one to turn around to someone and say, well, if I look at your photo, I think it's worth maybe $50. because that they can then turn around and bite you in the backside, where the person gets offended, or they lose confidence, or they sort of lose the will to take more photos, which is not what we want to do. So I always used to work on the strategy that if I was printing photos or framing photos, that I would at least try and make my money back on what the print cost me and the frame cost me. This is early days. So if the print cost me $20 and the frame cost me $80, then I try and make $200 on the shot. So I get my money back for the print and the frame plus the money in my pocket. So that's how I worked out my printing and framing on the early days. Then I guess the more you get yourself established as a photographer and printmaker, then I think you can start to, based on the quality of your work, I think you can start to increase that. So my calculations for how I charge for prints now is definitely different to what it was at the beginning. But I think that's, you want to definitely recover your costs for starters, and then, maybe add something on top of that. And what that is, like I said, that can be anything, but I think it's at least 100% on what, you should be able to get your money back plus that again.
Yep. I think that's a very, very sound formula, particularly for someone who is just starting out with selling them. But like you said at the top, there is no reason why Ellison couldn't put two grand on an 8x12 frame print.
Yeah.
I'll bet you that same amount that it won't sell, but that's not the point. The point is you have to price it at what you think you're worth. And that's always awkward. And everyone's the same. Everyone's so, what's the word, Cameron?
Gun shy.
They just don't value them. They don't think they're worth anything. A lot of people, photographers they're sort of self-conscious, and it's like, oh, I don't want to come across like I'm, some, big shot photographer that's making lots of money and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
The way I price my stuff is quite similar to you, Cam. I'm looking at bare bones costs.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at things for me is like rent on the shop. What's my time worth to put it together, all that sort of stuff. But I've also got to price my work to sell. So for me, there's nothing worse than when I frame up, like, spend a few $100s on a good frame and, put it in the window of my shop and it sits there.
Yeah.
Because generally that means my pricing's too high.
Yeah.
So, and then you sort of bring down. Now, I've also been told, well, actually I get told this every week, that I'm too cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
And my comeback to that every time is, well, how many would you like then?
Yes.
And of course they never buy them. And it's like, okay, so I'm not too cheap. I'm just, you just think that I'm too cheap.
Yeah.
I've seen things like this in galleries for $1,500. It's like, yeah, great. Do they sell? No. So I got to pay the rent.
what would you charge someone for a canvas going into a $5 million house?
See, this is the thing, isn't it? This is the thing.
If it is a thing. And I think getting back to Ellison, when they say I'll pay you, like people are willing to pay you, but that changes across the board as well. Like you might have someone who comes in who's quite wealthy and says, hey, that print, I love that in my house, and I'm happy to pay you for it. How much is it worth? And then you could look at them and go, well, okay, they're ultra rich, those people. Well, it's $2,000 for that print. And they probably wouldn't bat an eyelid at it, because that's relevant to what they buy other things for in regards to things. But if you have someone, come up to you at the market, you can sort of see it, even when we used to work in retail, like the young family that comes in, it's got the pram and 3 kids and mum and dad hanging off each other. And, that you're thinking, okay, well, they're not going to drop $10,000 on a photo for their house, but they might drop $100 on a nice little 8x12 or something like that. So it is hard to do that. But I think if people are willing to pay for you, and it's the same as well. Like I wouldn't walk into a furniture shop and go, geez, I really like that chair. How much is it? I'd expect someone to say, oh, that's $1,500. Okay, cool. And then it's up to me as the customer to determine if it's worth that. So
if I can give Alison some advice, because she did say, dear Cam and Brendan, so I'll chime in. It would be to have varying sizes available. And exactly what Cam just touched on then, give people the option where if they've only got a budget of $50, well, then they get a 6x4 print in a frame. If they've got a budget of $1,000, well, okay, let's start talking canvases and frame canvases and bigger prints and that sort of stuff. So the great thing, in my opinion, about photography is you don't necessarily have to keep it in stock. It doesn't go out of date. It's not a perishable good, and you can have it sitting on a hard drive and, put on a website and sell from that, and then produce a stock to order. When they're the big phrase these days, when it's bespoke, when you're making it, from scratch for someone, that can sometimes carry a heftier price tag as well, because it's custom. So there's a lot to think about, Alison, and a lot to break it down. But if it were me, I think I'd start with Cam's initial formula of, okay, this is how much it's going to cost me to present this artwork the way I want to present it. I need to recoup that plus that again to make an income from it.
Yeah, and I think you made some good points as well there, and I do this now as well a lot more than I used to. Is how much time does it take me to get these photos as well? So, and I don't necessarily say, well, that photo there took me a week to hike to get, and that photo was just on the side of the road. Like it's an overall average that, okay, I'm spending X amount of time taking photos. I've got X amount of equipment to do that. I've got some editing times, and I've got to print it and frame it. So I guess a good way to do that is try and break down each element of what it takes to get that photo prepared and put a price on it. And then say, right, okay, well, it took me half a day to go get that, and it took me this long to edit this, and it took me this long to print, and this is how much the frame was. Like you said, bare bones cost, it's $100 framed, ready to go. Then I'll sell it for $200, make $100 off the print and cover my costs. And then from there, you'll get a pretty good idea if it's working for you or not. So,
and if you're like me, when you started out, you'll sell it, you'll make that $100. That $100 goes straight back into more frames and more printing. And
that's right.
It's just a vicious cycle. And that's how you grow a business, though. I would imagine Alison isn't looking to turn pro all of a sudden, but when you're starting out, that's all the things you've got to take into consideration.
Well, that's funny as well, because that's pretty much what I did before I went full time doing this. Any money I was making from weddings or workshops or whatever it was, one-on-ones, all went back into my gear. So because I was working, I was still earning an income. So any money I made from photography, I'm like, well, I'm going to go out and buy that gear. I'm going to invest in that. I'm going to build a website. It went all back into the business, and then it sort of started making from there. So
but I get asked this question all the time. Like literally once a month, someone will come in and they've been, a coffee shop has asked them, oh, can we put a couple on display? And this is the thing I get a lot as well, is people say to me, oh, I want to the local coffee shops asked me to put in 5 pieces. So, and I just said to them, okay, how much are they paying you? Oh, nothing. It's for the exposure. It's like, okay, you got to watch that, because a lot of places are actually doing it to furnish their walls rather than, and they'll tell you that and sure, you might get 500 people a day through that coffee shop. It's been my experience over the years that, you don't sell a lot of artwork off the walls of coffee shops. People are there to get a coffee. That's right. They're not there to buy a photo.
Yeah, that's right. And if there's something else out of that you can take away, is if Alison wants to do her bit for the photography industry and landscape photography industry, my advice would be, instead of doubling the cost, doubling your profit, triple it. Because the more us artists actually start selling our work for what it's really worth, which is a piece of art, not just a cheap print that people think it's done for nothing, the better the whole industry will be. It's the same as the wedding industry. Like, people used to be able to healthily charge $3,000 or $4,000 for a wedding. Now you got people charging $500 or $1,000 for a full day, and that's almost become the norm, because that's where the market's gone, and everyone's trying to keep their costs low. So
that's right. The market cannibalizes itself. No, you're exactly right. It's a very good point, Cameron. Well made.
Yeah. So Alison, I would say triple your profits.
That's right. So work out your costs. And then so it's $100, sell it for 300. Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Yeah. Thanks, Alison.
Very good. Nice work. So this is our last episode before Christmas 2022. So I would personally like to thank all our listeners for an awesome year. The channel's grown really, really well. This is not the last episode for the year, but it is our last episode before Christmas. So I want to wish you all a very, very merry and happy and safe Christmas. Hope you get some time with your families and all that sort of stuff. Hope you get heaps of awesome photographic equipment for Christmas.
Yeah, or books maybe.
Sure. Where can they look at that. For those of you who are in headphones and driving, Cameron has just produced his Cradle Mountain and the Overland track book that he has put together with the guy that we're not mentioning on the show anymore. But look at that. Well, that's a sneak peek.
Yeah, sneak peek.
Doesn't it look lovely? That is
Yes.
a very, very nice looking book. Oh,
Yes. We're
So
not going to show too much, but it is available for pre-sale on my website.
lovely.
So
Cam's website is linked below, linked in description.
And that's my blue cover. Tom's got the other guy's got a pink cover.
Yep.
But we're selling them. This is the very first pre-sample we've received here. So it's about 20 odd centimeters by 20 odd centimeters. I've been saying it's 30 by 30, but it's just underneath. 180 pages. All these books that you buy off my website, I'll sign, and they should be available to post out early January.
Brilliant. How good's that, folks? There you go.
I would also
early January, just in time for Christmas
next year. I would also like to echo what you've said there as well. Merry Christmas to all our listeners and subscribers. This year's been a bit of a blast. This whole last 16 months we've been doing this, or whatever it is, it's been awesome. Yeah. It's growing, and we've got a great little community of people that listen. There's never any negative comments about what we do or say, which I love. But we do welcome them.
We can shoot you down.
But yeah, it's been a great year. Thank you, Brendan, for being the host of the show, doing a great job as always.
No, Cameron, thank you. So here's cheers to Merry Christmas for
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Absolutely. And now what have you got coming up this week, Cameron? You proofread that book and
more drinking. No, what am I doing?
Planning for 23, 24.
Yeah, I have been doing a bit of that. 23, 24. I'll shoot out an email probably next week or so to all the people on the workshops, both the Olympus workshops and our ones. But not much really. Sort of just winding down, doing a bit of housework, and the kids finish school tomorrow, so then I'm on daddy daycare then, so that'll keep me busy.
That'd be great.
I'll also do a big shout out to my daughter Autumn. It's her 10th birthday today, so she's hit double figures, and boy, is it like 10 going on 20, I tell you.
Happy birthday, Autumn.
Yeah, so she's had a good day.
Autumn's a ripper.
Yeah, she's good fun.
She's good.
And what about you, mate? You're just sort of keeping your head above water until...
Oh, boy. So we are literally about to turn the corner into the busiest week of the year. I feel like I'm out in front of it this year, which is great. We have my wife's side of the family Christmas on Sunday, a week early, and we are hosting it here in Ocean Grove. So that'll be fun. It's always fun. She got a great family. They're all the kids are sort of grown up now, so all young adults, and everyone pitches in, and it's always good fun. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. And then, it'll literally be 14, 15-hour days, some longer, as we tick all the boxes. Stock is arriving daily. We're getting all kinds of, which is great. So, it's all good. We're looking for, I'm actually looking forward to that. It happens every year. It's about 5 o'clock Christmas Eve, and the last canvas gets collected.
Yes.
And you can, and then I just look at my spreadsheet and cross it off the list. And that's it.
Yeah, I remember those days at Camera House when we used to that for Christmas Eve, the last lot of idiots that come in and buy their Christmas presents and whatever, and then it'd almost be this lull across the entire Elizabeth Street that everyone was done.
Yes, and then the door would come down. Remember, the door
would come down, and we're like, "Holy shit, we made it! We're alive!"
just, and we'd all limp home.
And then we get on the cans and.
Yeah, and then be back there for Boxing Day, which I never did.
I never did a Boxing Day ever.
You can have your boxing.
Stick it in your box.
Yep, didn't like it. All right, this has been episode 64 of the Down 64. Yes, this has been episode 60. I do that every week.
Yeah,
episode 64. Now we did hint there that there will be a live show between Christmas and New Year. Keep an eye on the socials. We're going to let you know exactly when that's going to be. It is shaping up to be Friday, the 30th of December. So it'll be, our live shows normally kick off around the 7:30, 8 o'clock mark. So keep an ear out for that.
If you do join us, come jolly, come merry.
We want a lot of feedback on that one, so that'll be great. We'll look forward to talking to you then. Cam, is that all from you?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm all done. Thank you again. This has been a 40-minute episode, but I'm pretty well.
Oh, that's not too bad. Okay, great. Yeah. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll talk to you after Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
See ya.
Cheerio.